welcome to MMA at Midnight. I'm your host, Shant Yeretzian, and this is our second episode. We're going to do a post-fight coverage of UFC 219 and the Rizin New Year's Eve Grand Prix. There's a lot of action. The UFC, it might have been a little lackluster, but the Rizin card made up for it. There was so much action on that card. It was a lot of fun. It was definitely a throwback to the old days, and we're going to get into all of that right now. Let's start by getting into the Bantamweight Grand Prix. Kyoji Horiguchi defeated Manel Kape by head and arm choke. Kyoji Horiguchi's a beast. If he was still in the UFC, that rematch with DJ would be amazing, and I know a lot of people would want to see it because he's just getting better and better, and he's so dominant on the feet, on the ground. He's one of those really all around good fighters, and he's just awesome. And he tore it up in that fight. And then you had Shintaro Ishiwatari. He defeated Takafumi Otsuka by unanimous decision, and that set him up to meet Kyoji Horiguchi in the finals. And look, this is an awesome matchup. This is the great part about these tournaments. You get to see these guys fight their way, and then after all that build up, they meet each other, the winners. And Kyoji just KOs Ishiwatari. He's just dominated him, and it was a hell of a KO. It was really good. He showed why he really is the best. People, like I said, that DJ rematch, people will really want to see that, especially after this. He's torn it up this year. He's just smashing everybody. So congrats to him to winning the Grand Prix. That was awesome. He had a really good performance. So I can't wait to see what he does in 2018, with him on a tear and Rizin doing really well. That was awesome. All right, next I'm going to get into the kickboxing segment of it. They had the kickboxing Grand Prix. Tenshin Nasukawa. If you haven't heard of Tenshin yet, he's been... a lot of you've probably seen his name or highlight reels. His highlight reels are intense. You've probably, in the past year or two, you've probably come across something about him. He's an amazing kickboxer. He's awesome. And he got a knee KO of Yuta Hamamoto. That was just intense. It was really good. I'm sure you can find the highlights online. Check it out. It was really good. And then you had Yamato Fujita defeated Mitsuyusha Tsunabe by KO. I actually missed that fight, but I'm going to go back and check that out. But that set up the Tenshin Fujita fight between those two in the finals. And Tenshin just had his way with him. He was just picking them apart, dropped them a bunch of times, got the TKO. Fujita was done. Tenshin was just picking them apart. It was really impressive. I would definitely recommend checking out Tenshin if you haven't yet. He's just been on a rise this past year or two, and it's just going to be... He's so young still. I can't believe how young this guy is, and he's already got, not just hype, he's backing it up. This is legit, so check him out. We're going to move on to the Atomweight Grand Prix with the women. We had, oh my God. Yeah, Rena, everyone knows Rena right now. She had a lot of hype behind her, too. She's one of those up-and-comers. She's just on a tear. She defeated Irene Caballo by TKO. Rena dropped her with a huge right hand, and then she was pretty much done. Rena, swung at her with a soccer kick, and the fight was over, Caballo was just all out. So Rena had a great performance. That was awesome performance of her. And then Kana Asukara defeated Maria Oliveira by armbar. Oh my God. Asukara is very slick on the ground. Her submissions are good. Her transitions are really good. And that set up the final with her and Rena, which... That's awesome, Everyone had kind of expected Rena to be in the final, but this was awesome. And Asukara defeated Rena by a rear naked choke. She choked her out cold. Rena was completely out cold. And congrats to Asukara. That was an amazing amazing performance. Her submission game is unreal. The way she can get into like those, get you into those dangerous positions like so quickly without you even realizing it, is really impressive. So we had Kyoji win the bantamweight Grand Prix, Tenshin win the kickboxing Grand Prix, and Asukara win the women's atomweight Grand Prix. And then we had a couple other fights. Like, I know it was already a stack card, but yeah, there was other fights on there too. We had Gomi, fighting. A lot of people, the Japanese MMA fans, have a soft spot for Gomi like I do, and we want to see him do well, but it just isn't going his way. He lost to Suka Yachi. He actually caught Yachi with a nice shot. He hit him. And Gomi like tried to swarm him, trying to do some ground and pound, but he ended up getting triangle choked, on the ground. But yeah, that's how that went down. It was an exciting fight. All these fights were just on the edge of your seat. They were great. And then we had, of course, Mirko Cro Cop versus TK Shioshi Kasaka, and I say Cro Cop just destroyed him. I felt bad for TK in there, like we're all fans of him, he's a great competitor and he'll take any fight, even though this was, he's up there in age. Yeah, he got picked apart by Mirko and they ended up calling off the fight, throwing in the towel. Overall, the Rizin Grand Prix, this is New Year's Eve in Japan. This is what it's all about. I covered in, our first episode 2 days ago when I was doing the UFC 219 preview. We have a segment, Midnights of Our Past, where I do, I recommend like an old event to watch. And I recommended Shockwave 2004 just because New Year's Eve in Japan, there's nothing like it. And the Rizin, really, this Rizin Grand Prix really showed that that's what it is. And, Japanese MMA is still alive and well. So that was really good to see. Okay, let's get into this UFC 219. It was a little bit of a slow card, lots of decisions on there, but I just want to go and pick out a few of the moments that were worth mentioning. Tim Elliott, he got an anaconda choke against Mark De La Rosa. The good win for Tim Elliott. He's really dominant. It's tough seeing him on like the Fight Pass prelims. Maybe they do it to get subscribers, but they don't need to. They have so much like great content on there, like old fights and stuff. They don't need to. Someone like him, he should be on like FS1 or something. Especially being on the Ultimate Fighter, like he'll get a lot of eyes. People need to see him on those fights. Some other stuff worth mentioning: Vettori versus Omari Akhmedov. That went to majority draw. I thought Akhmedov did enough to win the fight. Vettori had a submission attempt, a triangle attempt in the second round, and I think that's what a lot of judges kind of gave it to him because Omari was in there for a little bit, but I think he knew he wasn't in danger. That's why he wasn't like panicking or anything. He just waited it out, and I don't think that should have won him the round. But it's MMA judging. You can't complain about it at this point. It's all a matter of perspective. So gonna leave it alone that one. That was a majority draw. Miles Jury got a unanimous decision over Rick Glenn. That one was pretty straightforward. Neil Magny defeated Carlos Condit in a unanimous decision. This was a good performance by Neil Magny. We were all wondering what Condit was going to look like coming back after that layoff. It didn't go his way. I don't think he necessarily looked bad, but he didn't look like the old Condit. I think Condit from a couple of years ago would have beat Neil Magny, but Neil Magny put on a really strong performance. So I don't want to take anything away from him. Maybe it was just, he wasn't ready for the type of game Neil Magny has, or there was a little bit of ring rust on his part. So I don't want to write him off. It wasn't like a terrible performance, but he definitely didn't. He wasn't able to like get his rhythm in there. Carla Esparza defeated Cynthia Calvillo by a unanimous decision. That was a little, people thought that was controversial. It could have gone either way. Cynthia Calvillo put up a good fight. It was really back and forth. Like, there were moments in that fight where they were just swinging back and forth. So it could have gone either way. Khabib versus Edson. Oh my God. Khabib is a monster. Like, we all know how good he is, how good his wrestling is, how, like, his top game, how powerful he is at controlling the fight. But he was pressing the action the whole fight against Edson, I talked about in the preview show how I thought maybe, like, Edson could catch him with, like, a knee if Khabib was coming in too aggressive or something like that, but his game was really tight. Edson couldn't get really anything going, Yeah, Khabib was, like, pressuring him nonstop. His ground and pound was intense as always. On the feet, he wasn't letting Edson breathe or set his feet to get any sort of, like, strikes in or get his positioning or distance proper. It was a really good performance by Khabib. I definitely, he needs to be fighting for the belt. That 2018, what we want to see? Khabib fighting for the belt. That's what I want to see in 2018. So let's make that happen. Cyborg versus Holm. This one's a unanimous decision. Cyborg won. It was a pretty dominant performance by Cyborg, but it was back and forth. Holly Holm had a lot of good moments in it. I don't want to act like she didn't. In some ways, you could say it was a close fight, but in other ways, Cyborg, she was very consistent. She kept, her game going through the whole time. Her pressure was on, even though Holm did land some strikes, that's expected. A high-level striker like her, it was expected to happen. So that was a good fight. I hope we can get that Megan Anderson fight for Chris Cyborg now, because I don't see anyone else she could fight right now, and that's really the fight everyone wants to see. So overall, 219 wasn't bad. It was a little slow, like I said, but the Rizin Grand Prix was just amazing. That energy of those Japanese MMA events, New Year's Eve over there, that's the energy. That's what we live for. That's how we became, like, such big fans. It's that amazing energy, edge of your seat action, and the whole spectacle was unreal. And I definitely wanted to touch upon that in this episode. I was just going to do a UFC 219 post fight, but that Rizin event was amazing. And even if you're not a big fan of Japanese MMA, please check it out. Give it a shot. Whether, watch Shockwave 2004 or any other old Pride event, watch the Rizin, what was it, the Fight app, FITE, you can watch the Rizin on there. Shockwave, any of the old Pride, K1, you can watch on UFC Fight Pass. I'm not sponsored by any of them, but just try to get the word out. I want to spread the word on MMA, so get that out there. You can follow me on Twitter at Shant Yeretzian, and at MMA Midnight. Subscribe to our channel, like it. Gonna do an episode once or twice a week, and stay tuned for other Midnights of our past segments, and we'll keep you up to date. And thank you for joining us. Bye.